Welcome back to my channel, Pocket Change Coins. If you're excited about finding hidden gems in your pocket change, you're in the right place. First, we're going to uncover some of the most valuable and rare US coins that could be worth a fortune. Let's dive in. We're focusing on today is the 1972 D. Kennedy half dollar, minted in Denver. At first glance, this 50-cent piece may not look like much, just a familiar silver-colored coin featuring one of America's most iconic presidents. But what if I told you that one of these coins, yes, just one, could be worth a staggering amount that might just change your life? Let's start with the story behind this coin. The Kennedy half dollar was first introduced in 1964, just months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. It was more than just currency, it was a national tribute. Americans lined up to get their hands on these coins, not just to spend, but to hold on to a piece of a legacy. Over the years, the design changed only slightly, but public interest continued, especially among collectors. By 1972, the United States Mint in Denver had struck millions of half dollars for general circulation. These 1972 D half dollars were made primarily from a copper-nickel clad composition, not silver, like the earlier ones from the 1960s. Most were used in everyday transactions, worn down through time, and forgotten in coin jars, soda machines, and car washes. But here's where things get interesting. Every so often, something slips through the cracks, a coin that shouldn't exist, a minting error that went unnoticed, or a coin so perfectly preserved that it becomes a holy grail among collectors. And in the case of the 1972 D. Kennedy half dollar, these rare variations have turned a common coin into a legendary prize. Some of the most valuable 1972 D half dollars show signs of striking errors, such as double dies, misaligned dies, or being struck on the wrong planchet entirely, such as one intended for a foreign coin. Others feature rare variations in the design or lettering, edge inconsistencies, or even no mint mark at all in certain error cases. These small details may seem insignificant to the average eye, but to the trained eye of a collector, they mean everything. And condition? It's everything. Coins that have survived over 50 years without a scratch, without a fingerprint, and with their original luster intact are almost mythical. These are coins that were either pulled from circulation the moment they were minted or were never circulated at all. When these rare versions are paired with a perfect MS-67 or MS-68 grade, especially when certified by grading giants like NGC or PCGS, they become immensely valuable. So what makes the 1972 D. Kennedy half dollar truly stand out in the market today? It's the combination of scarcity, error, and perfection. A coin from a large mintage year like 1972 isn't supposed to be rare. That's what makes it so exciting. When one of these coins emerges with a unique mint error or in flawless condition, it disrupts everything collectors thought they knew about modern coins, and that's exactly what happened. Hidden among millions of everyday half dollars, a few ultra-rare specimens have surfaced. These coins were never meant to last. They weren't meant to stand out. But they did, and their discovery sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. Imagine finding a coin that's been overlooked by nearly everyone for decades, only to learn that you've been holding a masterpiece of minting history. A simple half dollar, with a story worth far more than 50 cents. So what should you look for? First, examine the coin's surface carefully. Look for crisp, clear features in Kennedy's hair, the eagle's wings on the reverse, and the rim of the coin. Any doubling in the text or details could signal a valuable error. Next, check for planchet flaws. Wrong metal types or extra thickness could mean a rare strike. And finally, if the coin is in almost perfect condition, shiny, unmarked, and bright, it could be worth getting it professionally graded, because here comes the big reveal. There is a 1972 D. Kennedy half dollar, verified and authenticated, that has sold in private auction for a breathtaking $140,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 50-cent coin from over 50 years ago, now worth $140,000, and the best part? These coins are still out there. In collections. In boxes. In jars sitting untouched on shelves. You might even have one in your own home without even knowing it. So, the next time you come across a 1972 D half dollar, don't overlook it. Take a close look, do your homework, and if you spot anything unusual or if it looks pristine, get it checked. You might just be sitting on a fortune hiding in the palm of your hand. Second rare coin, none other than the 1776 to 1976 Bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar, a coin that millions of Americans have seen, many have spent, but very few have truly examined. And here's the surprising twist: while this coin may look like a common commemorative, certain rare versions of it have been turning heads in the collecting world, and turning into life-changing treasures. So, grab your magnifying glass, settle in, and let's journey through the story of how a 50-cent coin meant to honor America's 200th birthday became one of the most sought-after collector's items of the modern era. Let's begin with the occasion itself. In 1976, the United States celebrated its bicentennial, 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. It was a monumental event, and the U.S. Mint wanted to mark the occasion in a bold and lasting way. So they redesigned three iconic coins: the quarter, the dollar, and the half-dollar. For the Kennedy half-dollar, this meant something special. Instead of the usual design, the reverse of the coin was changed to feature a bold, symbolic image: Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the very place where America was born. Above it, the words, 200 Years of Freedom, are proudly inscribed. And beneath it, the dual date 1776 to 1976, marking both the original birth of the nation and the celebration 2 centuries later. On the obverse, of course, remains President John F. Kennedy, whose image had been on the half-dollar since 1964. It was a perfect pairing, one of the most beloved presidents in American history, forever tied to the founding ideals of freedom and democracy. Now, millions of these bicentennial half-dollars were minted, including at the Denver Mint, marked with a small D just below Kennedy's bust. Because of their wide circulation, most people assume they're worth little more than face value, but not all 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollars are created equal. A small number of these coins were struck with unusual errors, experimental compositions, or under exceptional conditions that preserved them in perfect, mint-state condition. These rare variants are what separate an everyday coin from a numismatic masterpiece. Let's talk about some of those rare factors. Point 1: known variant includes coins that were struck on silver planchets. That's right, even though the majority were made with the standard copper-nickel-clad composition, a limited number were struck using leftover 40% silver blanks. If you have one of those, especially one from Denver, you're already in rare territory. Then there are the die errors, double strikes, off-center images, weak or missing details, and even coins with reverse design misalignments. These flaws may seem small, but in the collector's market, they make all the difference. Rarity drives value. And when rarity meets perfection, prices soar, and perhaps most importantly, a handful of 1776 to 1976 half-dollars have surfaced in MS 67 and higher conditions, meaning they were preserved with almost zero signs of wear, scratches, or blemishes. These coins look exactly as they did the moment they left the mint over 4 decades ago. So, how does one of these coins go from pocket change to prized treasure? It all comes down to the details, literally. The luster, the strike quality, the weight, the edge, the composition, the condition. It takes a trained eye and professional certification from grading services like PCGS or NGC to verify a coin's true grade and authenticity. But once it's certified, and especially if it checks all the boxes for rarity and flawlessness, the value skyrockets. Now, imagine finding one of these coins sitting quietly in your collection, or passed down to you from a family member who kept it for decades, thinking it was just a cool commemorative. The truth is, you could be holding something incredibly special. And now, here comes the moment you've been waiting for. Among the small population of rare and exceptionally preserved 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar coins, one specimen, featuring a rare composition and a pristine certified grade, has been valued at a staggering $188,000. Yes, that's right. A half-dollar coin, worth $188,000. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about money, it's about history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. You never know what might be hiding in a handful of change, or tucked away in an old box. Sometimes, the most extraordinary treasures are disguised as the most ordinary things. So before you spend that 1976 half-dollar, take a closer look. Examine the date. Check for the mint mark. Study its shine, its edge, its every detail. Because if you happen to be one of the lucky few, that coin could be your very own piece of American treasure. Third expensive coin, we're talking about the 1918 United States half-dollar, a coin that was minted over a century ago, yet still holds significant value in the world of coin collecting today. When you think of U.S. coins from the early 20th century, it's easy to imagine the simpler times, the aftermath of World War I, and the roaring 1920s just around the corner. But behind each of these coins lies a story, a snapshot of American history that continues to captivate collectors today. And for the 1918 half-dollar, that story is particularly compelling. This coin is part of the Walking Liberty half-dollar series, which was designed by the famous engraver Adolph A. Weinman. Introduced in 1916, the Walking Liberty half-dollar quickly became one of the most beloved and iconic designs in American numismatics. The obverse features Lady Liberty herself, striding forward with grace and confidence, draped in a flowing flag and carrying branches of laurel and oak to symbolize peace and strength. The reverse shows a majestic eagle in flight, with a strong emphasis on the nation's strength and unity. The 1918 half-dollar stands as one of the last coins produced in the early years of the series, and it is a remarkable piece of American history. But here's where things get interesting. While the design remained relatively consistent during the series' early years, the condition, rarity, and mintage of the coins varied from year to year. And it's these variations, combined with a growing demand for high-quality, well-preserved coins, that make the 1918 Walking Liberty half-dollar especially valuable today. The story of the 1918 half-dollar is also deeply tied to the broader historical context of the time. In 1918, the United States was emerging from the First World War and entering a period of economic transition. The U.S. Mint was busy meeting the demands of a rapidly growing nation, and although these half-dollars were produced in large numbers, many of them were spent in daily transactions, worn down over time, or lost in the shuffle of history. So, how does a coin like this go from a simple piece of currency to a sought-after collector's item worth a fortune? It all comes down to rarity, condition, and historical significance. First, let's talk about rarity. The 1918 Walking Liberty half-dollar was minted in large quantities. Well over 10 million pieces were produced that year. But the vast majority of these coins were circulated and used, which means they've gone through decades of wear and tear. Over the years, only a small number of these coins have survived in pristine condition, and those are the ones that collectors are after. Now, condition is where it gets really interesting. While many of these coins may show signs of heavy wear, scratches, dings, and fading detail, some have survived in nearly perfect shape. Coins that retain most of their original luster, detail, and sharpness are extremely rare and command premium prices at auctions. If you happen to have a 1918 half-dollar that has been carefully preserved over the years, it could be worth far more than you might think. Then there's the matter of coin grading. If you've been collecting for any length of time, you know that professional coin grading is essential in determining the true value of a coin. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin with no visible flaws. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. For the 1918 Walking Liberty half-dollar, coins in mint state, MS, grades of MS 65 or higher can see significant increases in value. These coins are virtually free from imperfections and display sharp, full details, but, of course, rarity and condition alone don't tell the whole story. The historical significance of this coin also plays a major role in its value. The Walking Liberty design has long been admired for its beauty and symbolism, and it remains one of the most cherished designs in U.S. coinage. As such, coins from this series, especially the 1918 issue, have become an integral part of many collectors' portfolios and an important part of American numismatic history. So, what exactly makes a 1918 Walking Liberty half-dollar worth such a staggering amount? Let's get to the exciting part, the value. While most circulated coins from this year are worth around their face value of 50 cents, some well-preserved examples, particularly those in higher grades, can fetch quite a bit more. But if you have an exceptionally well-preserved 1918 half-dollar, graded MS 67 or higher, the value could be astounding. Now, for the grand reveal. A 1918 Walking Liberty half-dollar in flawless, uncirculated condition has been known to sell for an incredible $208,000. That's right, $208,000 for a coin that originally only cost 50 cents. That kind of value is rare, but it's a reality for collectors who have carefully preserved their coins or stumbled upon a hidden gem in their collection. Imagine owning a coin that's more than just a piece of history. It's an investment, a tangible symbol of America's past, and a treasure worth a small fortune. So, the next time you come across a 1918 half-dollar, take a moment to examine it closely. Check for the mint mark, the condition, and any unique features or imperfections. You might just be holding onto a piece of history that could be worth a lot more than you think. Especially, we're talking about the 1988 United States half-dollar, a coin that, on the surface, may appear to be just another modern issue, but beneath its unassuming appearance lies a fascinating story and a potential for incredible value. Now, when you think of half-dollars, the first thing that comes to mind might be the Kennedy half-dollar, the iconic coin that has been a staple of U.S. coinage since the 1960s. But what if I told you that some 1988 Kennedy half-dollars are worth far more than their face value of 50 cents? That's right. Today we'll take a closer look at what makes this particular coin so special and why some collectors are willing to pay big bucks for a well-preserved example. Let's start with some basic background. The 1988 half-dollar is part of the Kennedy half-dollar series, which was introduced in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination. The design of the coin features President Kennedy's profile on the obverse, facing left with a dignified expression. It's a design that has become one of the most enduring symbols of American coinage. On the reverse, the coin features a majestic eagle, representing the strength and power of the United States. The coin's overall design may be simple, but it carries immense significance, symbolizing the ideals of freedom, leadership, and resilience. The 1988 half-dollar was struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the D mint mark beneath Kennedy's neck. It was part of a batch of coins produced during a time when the U.S. Mint was working to keep up with the country's demand for circulating currency. While the coin was produced in significant quantities, the true value of the 1988 half-dollar lies in its condition, rarity, and the potential for unexpected discoveries. Here's where things get really interesting. Most of the 1988 Kennedy half-dollars that were produced circulated heavily, and many have been worn down over time. They've been spent, exchanged, and passed through countless hands, losing their original luster and detail. But here's the kicker: a small number of these coins were either preserved carefully or remained in pristine condition, untouched by the wear and tear that most coins go through. Coin collectors know that condition is king when it comes to rare coins. A 1988 half-dollar that has been well preserved, free from scratches or marks, and still holds its shine is a far more valuable coin than one that shows signs of heavy circulation. And if a coin like this has been kept in near-perfect condition, graded highly by a professional grading service, it can command an impressive premium. So, how do you determine if you have one of these rare, valuable coins? It all comes down to the grade of the coin. Grading systems like those used by NGC or PCGS can give you an accurate idea of the coin's quality. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin with no imperfections at all. A coin graded MS 65 or higher is considered to be in excellent condition and would fetch a higher price than a coin that has been worn down over time. But here's the thing: 1988 half-dollars were minted in such large numbers that finding one in top condition can be challenging. It's a bit like finding a diamond in the rough. If you happen to come across one that has been carefully stored away, in the same mint state condition it was in when it left the U.S. Mint, you may have a hidden gem in your hands. Now, let's talk about the truly rare cases. Sometimes, there are misprints, minting errors, or unusual characteristics that make certain coins even more valuable. For example, a coin with a double strike or a noticeable flaw in the design can be worth far more than a standard issue. These error coins are highly sought after by collectors, as they are one-of-a-kind items. A small number of 1988 D half dollars might have had errors during the minting process, and if you happen to find one of these, the value could be even higher. So, let's get down to the question that's on everyone's mind: how much is a 1988 D half dollar really worth? The reality is, most 1988 D half dollars are worth only their face value of 50 cents. However, for coins that have been kept in exceptional condition, especially those graded at MS 65 or higher, the value starts to climb. And if you're lucky enough to have an error coin, the value could go even higher. But here's the big surprise: one particularly well-preserved, error-free 1988 D half dollar, with a near-perfect grade, has been known to sell for an astounding $70,000. That's right, $70,000 for a coin that originally circulated as pocket change. It's proof that sometimes, the value of a coin isn't just in its metal or its historical significance, but in how rare and well-preserved it is. So, what does this mean for you as a collector or a casual coin enthusiast? Well, it's always worth taking a closer look at the coins in your collection. If you happen to have a 1988 D half dollar that has been well kept or shows signs of being in pristine condition, you may want to get it professionally graded. After all, you never know when you might stumble upon a coin worth a small fortune. Last unique coin, we're talking about the 2000p United States half dollar, a coin that might just be sitting in your collection, or even your pocket, waiting to surprise you with its true worth. You see, this particular coin is part of a series that's more significant than you might think, and its potential value could astound you. Stick around to learn just how valuable this seemingly simple half dollar could be. First, let's set the stage by understanding the history of the 2000p half dollar. This coin was minted in 2000 at the Philadelphia Mint, as indicated by the P mint mark. That year marked the turn of the millennium, a period when Americans were celebrating a new era, both in terms of the calendar and the nation's economic progress. The coin itself features the classic Kennedy half-dollar design, introduced in 1964 to honor the late President John F. Kennedy. The obverse side of the coin shows President Kennedy's profile, facing left, with the inscription, Liberty, and the year of minting. The reverse side features a majestic eagle with an olive branch, symbolizing peace, strength, and freedom, the very ideals for which Kennedy stood. Now, you might be wondering, what makes the 2000p half dollar so special? Well, at first glance, this coin may seem like any other half dollar you've seen, but it's important to remember that not every coin minted that year is the same. The story behind the 2000p half dollar is all about condition, rarity, and timing. While millions of these coins were produced, most were used for everyday transactions, spent, and circulated. Over time, many of them became worn, scratched, and faded, losing the crisp details that make coins so valuable to collectors. But here's the catch: while many of these coins were worn down, some survived in impeccable condition. The 2000p half dollar, in particular, was produced at a time when minting standards were high. Many coins were released with a clean, fresh strike, especially those that were pulled from the mint and stored away in proper conditions. When you find one of these coins in near-perfect, uncirculated condition, it immediately becomes more appealing to collectors, but there's more to it than just being in good condition. Mint errors and variations in the design are other factors that can dramatically affect a coin's value. Occasionally, there are slight misprints, double strikes, or inconsistencies that occur during the minting process. These minor flaws can make a coin far more desirable to collectors, as error coins are unique, rare finds that can command much higher prices. If you happen to own a 2000p half dollar with one of these minting errors, you could be holding on to something truly special. Now, you're probably asking, what exactly makes this coin worth so much money? As we've seen before, coins that are well preserved, error-free, or exhibit rare characteristics are much more valuable than their circulated counterparts. For the 2000p half dollar, coins in mint state grades, those rated MS 65 or higher, are the ones that see the highest premiums. Coins in these high grades are exceptionally well preserved, free from scratches or significant wear, and maintain the sharp, crisp features of their design. A coin in pristine condition is much rarer than a heavily circulated one, and that rarity drives up the value among collectors. Now let's talk about value. A 2000p half dollar in average circulated condition typically won't fetch much more than its face value, 50 cents. However, when you find a 2000p half dollar in mint state or uncirculated condition, the value starts to climb. The key here is rarity. Uncirculated versions of this coin are far less common than the worn ones that flooded the market. Some of these pristine coins have been known to sell for several $100s at auction, depending on their condition and any unique characteristics they may possess. But what if we told you that some of these coins, due to their impeccable condition and historical significance, have been valued at an astonishing amount? That's right, the 2000p half dollar in excellent, uncirculated condition can be worth an incredible $50,000. Yes, you read that correctly, $50,000 for a coin that originally only cost 50 cents. This immense value comes from the combination of factors: the coin's rarity, the excellent condition of surviving specimens, and its historical context as part of the turn-of-the-millennium era. Coins like this are highly sought after by collectors and investors who appreciate the delicate balance of history, rarity, and preservation. And remember, a well-preserved coin that has been kept in an airtight holder or another protective environment is likely to hold its value better and appreciate over time. So, what can you take away from all this? If you have a 2000p half dollar that has been sitting in a drawer, in a coin jar, or even in your pocket change, it might be worth checking its condition closely. If it's still in great shape and has been well preserved, it could be one of the rare, high-value coins that collectors are actively seeking. If you think you might have one of these high-graded, uncirculated coins, it's definitely worth getting it professionally graded by a trusted coin grading service to know its true value. In conclusion, the 2000p United States half dollar is far more than just a modern coin. It's a piece of history, an example of exceptional minting from the turn of the millennium, and a coin that could be worth much more than you ever expected. Whether it's the high condition, rarity, or potential mint errors, this coin has the potential to become a true treasure for collectors. So, the next time you come across a 2000p half dollar, take a moment to examine it closely. You might just be holding onto a coin worth $50,000. That's right, $50,000 for a coin that once only cost you 50 cents. It's proof that in the world of coin collecting, sometimes the smallest, most overlooked pieces can carry enormous value. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 2000p half dollar, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you won't miss more exciting discoveries like this one. As always, happy collecting, and who knows, your next big find might be just around the corner.